If you're looking for pound the best home health and beauty fragrance products, you need to go to ashkickin.com.
Hi, I'm Angie and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this Tank beef.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, congratulations to Danny Jacobs, because he just beat a very, very very technically sound Maciej Sulecki. It was a very, very competitive fight. Sulecki, credit to him, he was extremely accurate in this fight. He was very technical. And when I say he was technical, that means whenever Danny Jacobs would make a mistake, Sulecki would make Danny Jacobs pay for it. So there were times when Danny Jacobs would land a good shot and then he would stand there as if he was waiting for his change, and that's when Sulecki would always land a good shot. This was a very difficult fight. This was a very good opponent that Danny Jacobs was forced to face. This fight was ordered by the WBA, and the winner of this fight would be the mandatory for Gennady Golovkin's WBA strap, his super WBA strap. Danny Jacobs has faced 3 undefeated fighters in a row, and they were all good opponents. And I'll tell you right now, I was so impressed with Sulecki's performance that I truly believe that that guy right there is probably a tougher fight than what a Golovkin rematch would be for Danny Jacobs. With that being said, let me go ahead and surmise what took place in this fight in the 12 rounds that it lasted. So in the first couple rounds, it took Danny Jacobs a couple rounds to figure out Sulecki's style. Sulecki, he was a little bit taller than Danny Jacobs. He was very, very effective with his jab and his accurate right hand. He knew how to use his foot movement, his range, and distance. And a couple rounds, those first couple rounds, it kind of made Danny Jacobs look a little wild. He was trying to outbox him a little bit in those first couple rounds. Then after the first couple of rounds, Andre Rozier, which is Danny Jacobs' trainer, he pretty much picked up on the fact that Sulecki did not look as comfortable when Danny Jacobs was coming forward as opposed to when he was backing up. Andre said, you notice when you back up, that's when he's aggressive, but when you come forward, he doesn't really do anything. This is what Andre said. And you will notice in this fight that when Danny did come forward and he got extremely aggressive, Sulecki would usually tie up Danny Jacobs. I was really impressed with Danny Jacobs' performance because of the level of opposition. Because once again, the first couple of rounds, Danny Jacobs was forced to raise the bar. And then Sulecki came back, he raised the bar. So that forced Danny Jacobs to raise the bar even higher. This is why this was a very impressive win for Danny Jacobs. And then he closes the show, because this was a competitive fight, guys. This was a competitive fight. One of the judges had the fight scored 7-5, and other judges, they had it a little bit more in favor of Danny Jacobs. But you could have this fight either way. It was a very, very close fight. But this is why it was important for Danny Jacobs to close the show the way he did, knocking down Sulecki for the first time in Sulecki's pro career. And it was a real knockdown. It wasn't a flash knockdown. It was a perfect landed lead right hand that Sulecki never seen. So that pretty much sealed the deal for Danny Jacobs. Now we talk about the business at hand. I keep telling you guys, when it comes to Gennady Golovkin, the walls are closing in very fast. With this win that Danny Jacobs just got tonight, this makes him the WBA mandatory. So now Danny is Golovkin's mandatory, Jamal Charlo is Golovkin's mandatory, Sergey Derenyevchenko is Golovkin's mandatory, and then you have the WBO middleweight champion BJ Saunders. There are no more easy fights for Gennady Golovkin outside of his next fight next weekend against Vanes Martirosyan, at least on paper. That's not even a guaranteed easy fight. But once again, if we're comparing Vanes Martirosyan to his number one mandatories right now, then you guys get the point. So the question is, will Gennady Golovkin fight any of his mandatories now? Or will he retire instead? Remember, guys, Golovkin and Team Golovkin, they have been telling the public for quite some time their number one goal is to unify all of the belts. And now, because these mandatories are on Golovkin's neck, like IBF mandatory Sergey Derevyanchenko, the IBF has already ordered that Golovkin is going to have to fight his mandatory before he fights Canelo, which was the plan, to fight Canelo in September. But now, because of the IBF threatening to strip Golovkin of his belt, he's going to have to fight his mandatory by, I believe it's August 3rd. Or he's going to have to give up his belt. And if they're already forcing him to fight his IBF mandatory, pretty soon the WBC is going to force Golovkin to fight Jermall Charlo, his WBC mandatory. Do you think Golovkin is going to fight Danny Jacobs in a rematch, Jermall Charlo and Sergey Derevyanchenko, so he can become the unified champion that he said he wants to be? It's not going to happen. Golovkin is going to either retire or he's going to move up to 168. But he's not going to fight those fighters. And if he fights one of them, he certainly ain't going to fight them all. So, and once again, I want to go ahead and stress this one more time. For fans that are saying that Golovkin, he's 36 and he's too old to fight a Jermall Charlo or something like that. If that's the case, why is Golovkin fighting or attempting to fight Canelo Alvarez? And why didn't you say that when you found out he was fighting against Canelo Alvarez? You can't have it both ways. He can't be old when he fights Jermall Charlo, but he's not old when he fights against Canelo. And when you started your career late and you haven't been into any wars really at all, 36 is not old. Floyd Mayweather, he was fighting Canelo Alvarez at 38. He was fighting Manny Pacquiao at 39. And he had a much longer career than Golovkin did. So the age excuse is not sticking. Let's see what Golovkin does. Once again, congratulations to Danny Jacobs. And congratulations to Sulecki for putting on a great performance. Another great fight. Even Sulecki versus Golovkin, I think that would be a very difficult fight for Golovkin. So, once again, man, all tough fights for Golovkin. Let's see what he does. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on